Everybody, again, for inviting me and us to this meeting. And it's really good to be here and see from everybody and how much interest there is and how much thought you've already put into this and where it's going. And I'll just follow up a little bit, mainly on the technical assistance that EPA is going to be offering to the community. And Nancy already talked about it quite a bit, the closing wire for wastewater access gap. That is part of the EPA's water technical assistance program for communities, for water and wastewater issues. And as Dan mentioned, you guys met, Ted Johns helped organize a few initial meetings with you guys, and then learned about that program and applied to EPA. So EPA's role, and just to clarify a little bit, EPA's role with individual cesspools, that's a state program. They regulate directly the individual residential cesspools. EPA is not the regulator for that. Roger talked, EPA does have more of a role on the sewer system. The state also is the primary regulator for the sewer systems, but there's a role for EPA in regulation and enforcement and some of the water quality standards and things like that. But for individual cesspools, it's a state program. But EPA understands it's an environmental issue, as Dan talked a lot about the public health and environmental implications of the 83 or maybe I've heard different numbers up to 88,000 cesspools across the state, the 55 approximately million gallons of sewage going into the ground all the time. So EPA really wants to support this effort, and so we are moving forward with the request came in a few months ago, and we've been meeting internally. And Nancy mentioned Michael Metacapo, who had been out here working for Sea Grant and WRRC and was very involved with the cesspool conversion working group, helping to develop the prioritization tool. He is one of the lead people. He's now with EPA, based out of our headquarters. He lives up in New England, I think Vermont, but he's based out of our DC headquarters. He works for those folks. So we've been working, we've had several internal meetings and some meetings with DHHL, and Nancy mentioned, and it's on the handout that she gave you, there's sort of two aspects to that technical assistance. And the first one is to work with DHHL, on the possibility of pass-through funding, of developing a program for getting, and it's some of that state revolving fund money that, but that DHHL, we think, should be able to have access to if the proper criteria and conditions are met. And so we have 2 or 3 engineering firms. We have a national firm which is on the contract. I don't think it's public yet exactly which firms or who's going to be working on it, but we have a very good national firm that's worked with a lot of communities all across the country with similar, every place is different, but they have similar situations. A lot of places have cesspools or failing septic systems, and the same kind of issues for individual homeowners need to be replaced in order to come into compliance. So it's great. They have that really broad experience of different approaches that we're taking. And they also have subcontractors who are locally based here. And, and some of them have actually been involved with some of the cesspool conversion working group work in the past. So that will be a real benefit. They're familiar with the technical aspects, the financial, obviously, we hear that. From you guys, and of course, that's absolutely a really difficult situation. It's going to cost money to either do individual conversions to individual wastewater systems, or to connect to sewer, and there's the capital cost, the cost of just doing the construction, but there is also the engineering cost. Individual wastewater systems design has to be signed off for the state, as I understand it, by an engineer. But like you guys raised a really good idea of maybe if there's a bunch of similar situations, hiring a single engineer or single engineering firm to come up with a model that maybe is applicable for, more than one individual. By doing it collectively, that's a really good idea. So they will be looking, so we haven't, hasn't started yet. So all these ideas, we're frantically writing them down to try to transmit, but soon, you guys will be able to have input directly. So, yeah.
So this technical assistance is basically working with the department to come up with these solutions on the infrastructure side, to get everything ready for us to implement.
Yeah, so the goal is to look at sort of all the things, all the different options. So, there is the option of, connecting to the sewer, and there's already a lot of people, I learned tonight that the majority of the residents here are already connected, but there's 110 that aren't, that have individual, systems that will do. So we'll be looking at, the best ways to do that. There may be some situations, perhaps, where individual, residences will just not be able to connect to sewer for whatever reasons, and in that case, then maybe the best solution for them, perhaps, will be to help them get the funding and the financing and the design to put in an individual wastewater system that will work. There are different technical engineering solutions, like if the soils aren't appropriate, there are, and I'm not an expert in this area, but the engineering firms that are going to be coming in are, so there are aerobic treatment units and different kinds of, treatment options that may be appropriate. There will be solutions for everybody ultimately, so they'll be really looking at that whole range. So, part of the project is working specifically with DHHL to help them be able to, hopefully access the state revolving fund monies for individual, possibly as a pass-through for individual wastewater system conversion, and looking at things like the eligibility of laterals. I don't know the answer to that, of the connections from the home, obviously to the lot line, all that stuff will be looked at. Don't know the answer tonight, but that's what over the course of, I'm gonna say probably, we're getting very close to sort of having official kickoff meetings, I would say within the next month or so, we hope, and then, shortly thereafter, we will want to get you guys involved. We'll want to do same kind of meetings like this, and getting input from you all into what your needs are and what needs to be done. And of course, we understand how critical it is for city and county, for Roger, and for environmental services to be involved. So, working together with them, rural water. Hopefully we'll get folks out here to actually, from the consulting groups to meet with you guys in some kind of a fashion, get more familiar with the technical issues.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you folks are doing is you're working with the Department of Homelands to find solutions for our homes. Each house, each lot may be different, some may be the same, but what is the best solution for our residents? And then, in the same sense, you folks will also be working with Department of Health.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
Because they're the ones that's kind of spearheading
Absolutely.
this whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so once you folks can find the best possible solution for our neighborhood, is when you'll be coming back to us and saying, okay, these are the options.
I think we'll be coming to you to help us further, to help them, the engineering firms, further understand the problem. So we'll be coming to you earlier in the, they're not going to be able to come up with the solutions without doing more investigation. And a critical part of that will be hearing directly from you all. So we will, whether it's by Zoom or getting some folks out here, that's definitely part of the plan. Is to get hear from the community what the issues are, understand community concerns, understand the technical issues, the financial issues, the relationships, you know, and the city and county's plans. They have a planning process that takes time, you know, for different sewer sheds, when they're going to be able to address them. So, yeah, we have a question.
Thank you, Barry, for coming out and spending the time. I think what we're interested in is having all this groundwork being done and investing all of this. We're hoping that that first, whatever drop of whatever it is, that funding will hit Waianae Valley before it hits everyone else. Because we may be the model for what will be happening for other homesteads, but we're putting the groundwork in. So putting that groundwork in and investing in that, we're hoping that we will be the first to get that funding. That is part of, I think, our, not just expectation, but it's just like anything else. You put the work in, it should go to the beginning, and then you spread it out. You're learning from the model, the wheel that has been spinning, that doesn't have to be spun again. And so that's what we're asking for, is we understand that the different agencies are here, but we want it, when it comes down to the bottom line, we want to be on that bottom line to receive on that end. To help us as beneficiaries. This system is long. I mean, our parents, we have kupunas that cannot afford this. And so we're trying to help, our association is trying to help those kupunas and the generations to come. So what we're doing today and the next weeks, or whatever the case may be, we're hoping all of this is not falling on deaf ears, but it is something that will help benefit Waianae Valley before anyone else.
No, thank you for that. And I mean, absolutely, the fact that you guys have been self-organizing and having these meetings and requesting the assistance, like Jan said, this project is for Waianae Valley. It's, you know, it's called the Waianae Valley Community Association Technical Assistance Project. We're working with the HHL because of their kind of unique role, you know, with the homesteaders and the situation. But the goal is to help you folks to come up with solutions at an individual level and also at a community level. So absolutely, we hear you on that. And again, we really appreciate the fact, I mean, I think we will end up being a model for a lot of other places. So, you know, ultimately you'll be able to take pride in that when you set the path for other communities too. But definitely, this project is oriented specifically to Waianae Valley community.
Thank you. Thank you, agency.
Good job.
You mentioned earlier that the cesspool removal is state bid.
Correct. Individual cesspools. So EPA is involved for the large capacity cesspools. So, for example, if there's a business that has a cesspool, or even if there's more than one residential building, commercial.
Churches
Yeah, and in some cases, even if there's multiple homes on one lot, that could be a large capacity cesspool. But with DHHL, you know, we're also working, EPA is working with DHHL on the large capacity cesspool issues. No, that's a state, that's 100% a state property from the state legislature, it's not a federal.
Right, so, like Barry was saying, yeah, EPA is not the one that's mandating the sewer conversion. EPA is helping the department and the state move us forward. So, Scott, you want to come up and say anything on the department outside?
While it's coming up, can I ask another question?
Yeah.
You know, the opinion of Ted Johnson, he's been great in helping us. We've been at other community meetings with him. But when he made the comment about our soil not being sufficient, is there anything else that can be done to nutrition that soil? Whether you buy microorganisms or whatever it is to make that soil compatible, to be acceptable, so that we can get into the septic tank instead of a sewer connection.
Especially for homes that
I'm
might
sorry?
be hard to connect to.
Well, good evening, everyone. Yeah, my name's Scott. I'm with the Department of Health. So even though you're at Department of Health, it doesn't necessarily, there's a lot of other intricacies in there. So Rebecca and I are part of the, currently we're part of the Clean Water Branch non-point source program. So we don't necessarily, so the way that Barry is in it, as far as the cesspools, it's under the Kuleana of the state, for the Department of Health. It's really with the wastewater branch. So unfortunately, John couldn't be here. John is actually the branch chief of the wastewater branch. He was here at the last meeting at the library. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to relay that if there's any questions or any information that we can take back to him, that he's more than welcome, and also to give out his contact information, his email if you don't have it, and then he could try to answer it either through email or maybe calls. But I just there is a distinction. So for Rebecca and I in our program, our non-point source program, we are mainly focused on the septic systems, and I think there's a lot of overlap, right? As cesspools get converted to either septics or to advanced treatment, it becomes kind of not our problem, but it comes under our jurisdiction. If it goes to the sewer, connection to the sewer, then of course that's the city and county now. So there's a lot of different, players involved. But I just want to let you all know that, I appreciate all the interest and and just what Jan has done. I think it's been, above and beyond, I think, what a lot of other neighborhoods that I've seen that have done to try to mobilize and try to deal with environmental issues, not just cesspools or septics, but just environmental issues, and I want to plug for that. So for Rebecca and I, we are trying to we're working with the EPA, we're working with, in fact, there's another agency, not to make it more confusing, but there's another federal agency that's involved too, it's NOAA. So we're working with them on coastal issues, coastal non-point pollution issues. So that's how they're involved. We are trying to work with the wastewater branch and actually with the drinking water branch, because they also have an SRF program. And that's dealing with trying to protect the aquifer, as you saw in the videos. So there is that angle as well. So from a non-point source perspective, for Rebecca and I, we are trying to take care and look at the septic system issues as they get converted, or the ones that are existing already. So one thing that wasn't mentioned, I think, in the video, and I think maybe wasn't mentioned during this meeting, is that if there is a conversion to septic, right, there's the liquid waste and there's the solid waste, right? So things start to build up in these septic systems. And if it goes up, it goes without saying that, these systems need maintenance. So that's the part that we're trying to work on, is on the maintenance, from the maintenance aspect and the tracking. Right now, as a state, we're not able to assess, how good, of all the septic systems out there, which ones are maybe on the verge of failing. That could be another environmental disaster that's happening right under our noses. So I think right now we're trying to develop that program for the existing septic systems, and for those that are going to be converted to septic, is how are we going to maintain and track those systems and make sure that we get information out to folks like you that maybe have septic systems, how to maintain a system. And of course there is a cost, unfortunately, the pumper cost. But we're trying to do things to do maybe self-certification or self-evaluation where homeowners are able to assess their system. So we're looking into some of those, those avenues. But again, our program, our non-point source program, is trying to address the septic side, whereas the wastewater branch is going to be addressing the cesspool conversion side. But of course, I know for all of you, for many of you, when you hear about the Department of Health, we're all under one roof. So it doesn't matter what branch you're in, but there is a distinction, just to let everyone know. But of course, I can take, if I can't answer the wastewater side, I can put you in touch with John or someone from the wastewater branch that maybe can help address them. So thank you for your time.
I have a question. So my question is probably getting, because I've just been asking all night, when is this going to take place? When is the deadline? So maybe that question can be taken up to John. read that we're priority two?
Oh, okay.
When is the state looking at? So priority one, we know that the state has to get going first. And we're in priority two. So what does it look like as far as when is the work going to start first, or when is the deadline for us to?
So yeah, I mean, I think as far as for priority 2 and priority 3 areas, and I can't speak for the wastewater branch, but I haven't seen any like specific deadlines. I mean, all I know is at the 2050, right? That's it. Everything has to be. That's you can't put any more cesspools. All the cesspools have to be converted. Now, how realistic is that? Right? I mean, I think that's the part that I think we're trying our best, right? Trying to work at trying to get these converted, but I think one cesspool at a time, or one at a time, it's going to take. But I know it's 88,000, 85,000 systems, and there might be more that we may not have accounted for in the tool. But I think that's where. Sorry, maybe John or maybe the wastewater branch may have a better idea as far as timing, but I don't think I haven't seen any dates for priority 2.
So the footprint we have for cesspool right now, that's not big enough to accommodate a septic tank.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the technical side, and a lot of this is things that I'm learning now, is that there may be different technologies that may be to get a smaller footprint, but like you saw in the septic systems, there's a leach field. And I think depending on, I think that's where you need the technical assistance or an engineer to be able to look at it. I've heard there are some technologies on the U.S. continental that may be there might be some technologies that might be able to lower that footprint size for septic. But again, maybe that's where getting an engineer or consultant or getting more technical help might be able to answer some of those questions as far as footprint and land sizes.
So my question is, or more or less, my comment for all of the government agencies. If we can request for you folks to make a determination as to what it is that's going to be happening in our state. Now, if it's we got to get second opinion, third opinion to determine the soil, whether we can have a septic or we cannot have a septic. If we cannot have septic systems, can we start building a plan around how we're going to get our families connected to the sewer? I think at this point, we kind of going around in circles, like, oh, maybe we can do septic, maybe we cannot. Maybe we got to do sewer lateral connection. If you folks can tell us for sure, you guys cannot do septic, you guys got to do sewer lateral, then that's something where we can focus our energies on. And not have to worry about the septic side. But if you're saying there's a possibility that some families can do septic, then we want to make sure that we're open to that as well. But I think the quicker we get an idea of what we need to focus on, the better it is for us to move forward and get ready for the next. Anybody else got questions? Okay. It's 9 o'clock. I'm sorry we didn't get to any of the questions, but if you can pull it up, I'll go over real quick. So these questions came up in the survey. And what I'll do is I will email it to you folks so that you folks can answer it.